There is a strange kind of pain that only ambitious people understand. You can picture the future so clearly that it almost feels real. You can see the better body, the better career, the finished project, the life that finally feels like yours. But when the moment comes to do the work, something inside you freezes. You reach for your phone. You delay. You promise yourself tomorrow will be different. And somehow, tomorrow becomes the same day all over again. This is not the story of someone with no ambition. It is the story of someone with so much ambition that the gap between who they are and who they could become has started to hurt. The dream is alive, but the body does not move. And that contradiction slowly becomes exhausting. Most days begin with a promise. Today will be different. Today you will finally work on the project, apply for the opportunity, study the subject, record the video, build the business, or take the first step toward the life you keep imagining. For a few minutes, the plan feels clean and possible. Morning light comes through the window. The day is open. There is still time. And because there is still time, you tell yourself there is no need to rush. That tiny delay feels harmless, but it is often where the whole day begins to bend in the wrong direction. Then the phone appears. First, it is innocent. One message, one notification, one quick check before starting. But quick does not stay quick. The screen gives you motion without effort, novelty without risk, reward without responsibility. You scroll because it feels easier than facing the blank page, the unanswered email, the difficult workout, the uncertain first step. Before you notice what happened, the morning has been traded for a handful of forgettable moments. Nothing dramatic happened. That is what makes it dangerous. The day did not explode, quietly leaked away. After the first delay, your mind becomes a negotiator. You will start after breakfast, then after lunch, then after one more video, then after you clean the room, answer messages, make coffee, or wait until the hour feels more complete. Each excuse sounds reasonable in isolation, but together they form a wall. The task itself has not changed, yet it begins to feel heavier. What could have been a simple beginning becomes a psychological event. Now you are not just doing the work. You are fighting the shame of having avoided it all day. By night, ambition returns. This is one of the cruelest parts of the cycle. When the day is over and no action is possible, your mind suddenly becomes brave. You imagine tomorrow with perfect discipline. You picture yourself waking up early, ignoring distractions, and becoming the person you were supposed to be. For a moment, the guilt turns into hope. You make a silent bargain with the future. Tomorrow will fix what today failed to do. But tomorrow arrives as an ordinary morning, not as a miracle. If this happens once, it is just a bad day. But when it happens again and again, the pattern begins to feel like a personality. Weeks pass, then months, maybe years. The goals stay in your head, but the evidence in your real life does not change. You start wondering if you are secretly lazy, secretly undisciplined, secretly not the kind of person who follows through. And that question can be painful because deep down you still know you are capable of more. You can feel the potential. You just cannot seem to turn it into movement. The reason this is so confusing is that both sides of you are real. One part of you wants the future. It wants achievement, freedom, respect, confidence, transformation. It dreams in vivid images. It knows what your life could look like if you stopped wasting time. But another part of you wants comfort. It wants certainty. It wants to avoid embarrassment, effort, rejection, and the possibility of discovering that your best attempt might not be enough. These two forces live in the same body. Every day they negotiate for control. The comfort side is not winning because you are weak. It is winning because your brain was built to protect you. Your brain is not primarily designed to make you fulfilled. It is designed to keep you safe. And hard goals do not always feel safe. They contain effort, uncertainty, judgment, delayed reward, and a chance of failure. So when you look at the work you need to do, your brain does not only see opportunity. It sees threat. then it offers an escape route that feels easier right now. Avoidance works in the short term. That is exactly why it becomes so addictive. The moment you leave the hard thing, the pressure drops. You feel a little lighter. The anxiety fades. Your brain notices that relief and records it as a win. Next time, when discomfort appears, it recommends the same solution. Scroll, eat, sleep, research, plan, organize, watch something. Do anything except face the thing that creates uncertainty. Slowly, avoidance becomes less like a decision and more like a reflex you fall into before you even realize it. Comfort has a bill, and it usually arrives at night. Every avoided task becomes a quiet piece of evidence against yourself. Every broken promise makes the next promise weaker. Every day spent choosing relief over action teaches your mind that your goals can be postponed without consequence. But there is a consequence. It is the slow erosion of self-trust. You stop believing yourself when you say you will change. The real damage is not only the lost time. It is the identity you begin to build around the time you lost. Most people think the missing ingredient is motivation. They believe that if they could just feel inspired for long enough, everything would change. But motivation is a weather pattern, not a foundation. Comes and goes. It shows up when you watch someone else transform their life, then disappears the moment your own work becomes boring. Inspiration can open the door, but it cannot carry you through the hallway. A life cannot be built on a mood. It needs structure, systems, and actions that can survive on ordinary days. Discipline is not a magical trait that some people receive at birth. It is built through repeated moments where you choose the harder, useful thing over the easier, empty thing. At first, those choices feel small, almost too small to matter. But your brain is always collecting evidence about who you are. When you keep one promise, even a tiny one, you create a new piece of evidence. When you keep another, the evidence grows. Discipline is not created by one heroic decision. It is created by many small decisions that prove you can be trusted. For ambitious people, perfectionism can be more dangerous than laziness. You have such a clear picture of the final result that the first attempt feels insulting. You imagine the polished business, the perfect body, the impressive portfolio, the flawless performance. Then you compare that vision to the messy first step, and the first step feels unacceptable. So you wait. You wait until the plan is better, the equipment is better, the timing is better, the confidence is stronger. But perfection is often fear wearing a respectable mask. Underneath perfectionism is a fear most people never say out loud. What if you try and the result is ordinary? What if the idea is not as brilliant outside your head as it felt inside your imagination? What if effort destroys the fantasy that you could succeed anytime you wanted? As long as the dream remains untouched, it can remain perfect. It can remain proof that you are secretly capable. But once you act, reality gets a vote. That is frightening. It is also the only way anything real begins. Failure hurts, but it gives you information. A bad first draft tells you what needs editing. A weak workout tells you where your body is starting from. A rejected application teaches you what to improve. A failed attempt brings reality into the conversation. Inaction brings nothing. It protects your ego while stealing your progress. Keeps the dream untouched, but it also keeps it imaginary. Failure is not the opposite of success. The real opposite of success is never entering the arena at all. The first rule of change is simple and uncomfortable. You will not feel ready. Not consistently. Not before the hard part. The feeling you are waiting for may never arrive. That does not mean you are broken. It means you are human. The work begins when you take action while resistance is still in the room. Each time you do that, you teach your brain a new lesson. Discomfort is not danger. Effort is not a threat. Starting is survivable. And once starting becomes survivable, it becomes repeatable. Do not try to rebuild your whole life in one heroic day. That is another form of perfectionism. Start so small that your ego is almost embarrassed by it. 15 minutes. One paragraph. One email. One page. One recorded sentence. One messy sketch. The size is not the point. The point is to prove that the chain can begin. You are not trying to become impressive today. You are trying to become consistent. Consistency is less glamorous than intensity, but it is far more powerful. At first, discipline will not feel inspiring. It may feel boring, uncomfortable, even unfair. Your brain will argue with you. It will say you are tired. It will say the timing is bad. It will say you deserve a break before you have earned one. This is the moment where most people mistake resistance for a signal to stop. But resistance is not a command. It is just noise from an old pattern losing control. You do not need to win the whole war in that moment. You only need to stay. Something changes after you show up a few times. The work may still be difficult, but the fear around it becomes quieter. Your brain begins to learn that nothing terrible happens when you sit with discomfort. The blank page does not destroy you. The workout does not ruin you. The awkward first attempt does not end your life. Little by little, the resistance loses its authority. It may still speak, but it no longer has to control your behavior. That is how momentum begins. Not with confidence, but with repeated proof. Your environment is shaping you more than you realize. If your phone is beside you, you will probably check it. If your desk is chaotic, your mind will feel chaotic. If your browser is full of distractions, focus becomes a battle before the work even begins. This is not a moral failure. It is a design problem. People who look disciplined often have lives arranged so that the right action is easier than the wrong one. They do not rely on heroic willpower every minute. They remove the temptations before the fight starts. A useful system does not have to be complicated. Choose a time. Protect it. Remove the easy escapes before the work begins. Close the extra tabs. Put the phone away. Tell the people around you or simply tell yourself that this block of time belongs to your future. Every distraction you remove is a decision you no longer have to make. And every decision you remove gives energy back to the thing that matters. Focus is not only something you force. It is something you design. There is another trap that looks productive from the outside. Endless preparation. More videos. More books. More podcasts. More research. More planning. Learning can be valuable, but it can also become a comfortable hiding place. It gives the emotional reward of progress without the risk of action. At some point, the next piece of information is not what you need. You need evidence from the real world. You need to test something. You need to stop collecting maps and start walking. Your first attempt will probably be rough. That is not a problem. That is the price of entry. Every skilled person you admire once made work they would be embarrassed to show. The difference is that they did not confuse the beginning with the ending. Bad work can be edited. Weak work can be strengthened. A clumsy start can become momentum. But the perfect version in your head cannot help you until you let it become real. Quality comes later. Showing up comes first. Even after you start, you will slip. You will lose a day. You will fall back into the old loop. You will have moments where the couch wins, the phone wins, the fear wins. That does not mean the change is fake. It means you are changing a pattern that has had years to practice. Progress is not a straight line. The people who move forward are not the people who never stumble. They are the people who return faster. One bad day does not have to become a bad week. This is why shame cannot be your strategy. Hating yourself at night does not create discipline in the morning. It only makes the work feel heavier. When you call yourself hopeless, lazy, or broken, you are not building strength. You are building an emotional environment where trying again feels painful. Self-compassion is not an excuse to quit. It is what allows you to start again without dragging every past failure behind you. Speak to yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Here is the truth. Lazy is not who you are. It is a behavior you have practiced. Avoidance is not your identity. It is a pattern your brain learned because it once felt safer than trying. And patterns can change. The moment you understand that, the story becomes less hopeless. You are not fighting your character. You are retraining your habits, your environment, your attention, and your response to discomfort. That is difficult, but it is also possible. You do not need to become a different person overnight. You need to stop treating an old pattern like a permanent identity. Ambition without action eventually becomes fantasy. It can feel beautiful in your mind, but it cannot change your life by itself. At the same time, action without compassion does not last. If you push yourself with hatred, you may move for a while, but eventually the weight becomes too heavy. The balance is discipline and forgiveness. Discipline to do the next small thing when you do not feel like it. Forgiveness to return when you fall short. That balance is how change becomes sustainable instead of dramatic and temporary. The next version of you will not appear all at once. It will be built through proof. One focus block proves you can begin. One finished paragraph proves you can continue. One workout proves you can act while tired. One honest attempt proves you can survive imperfection. These proofs may look small from the outside, but inside your mind, they are powerful. They rebuild self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of discipline. You do not become confident and then act. You act, and confidence grows from the evidence. There is a hard truth inside this story. Nobody can do the starting for you. Nobody can rescue you from the pattern while you keep choosing it. Other people can encourage you. Systems can support you. Advice can point the way. But the decision to begin still happens in your own body, in your own room, on an ordinary day when nobody is watching. That may sound lonely, but it is also empowering. If the pattern was learned, it can be unlearned. If the loop was built, it can be broken. The life you want will not be built by one dramatic transformation. It will be built by small choices repeated until they become normal. One focused block. One honest attempt. One reset after a bad day. One less distraction. One more promise kept. Nobody is asking you to become perfect today. You just need to start and then return again. You have spent enough time imagining the person you could be. Now it is time to become the person who does. Not someday. Not when you feel ready. Start with the next small step.